to hearing from you.
Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm going to take you on a little journey here about how this started for me. I was first on, I think it was the very first time I was on Dr. Raj's show, and I've been on his show about 5 times now, and that would be in New York. So I fly in, and for me, this was all about a healthy home. It was about mold, it was about asbestos, and the most important things that people needed to know about keeping their home healthy, which I'm kind of a freak on because I understand all these things, and it makes sense to me that we need to educate other people. What's in the air? When I was on the show, my part was about mold and asbestos, and there was another guest, and of course, Dr. Roz. And the other guest actually started talking about radon. So I was listening, and I listened for a little bit. And then Dr. Roz got back to me, and I was pretty, you know me, I'm kind of strong. And I said, I'm not really worried about radon at all because I really didn't know anything about it. But that's what I said on television. And I got strong on the point when it comes to asbestos and about mold and about what's in the air and how to keep it clean. And after I did that show, I had a little conversation with that gentleman afterwards, and it piqued my interest. When I had come home from New York, we started to talk about it. And the next thing you know, we find out more about it. Then we meet people in the radon industry and some wonderful people at that, and started to learn that it was way worse than I actually knew. And there's no doubt in my mind, if I didn't know about it, that meant that a lot of people don't know about it. We started immediately, not only because when we renovate anyone's home, we make sure that we test for asbestos in the plaster, especially if the home is before 1985. Even though 1980 was the limit for using it, it would take a few years to actually rule it out. We would test for lead, we test for everything. We did what we're supposed to do before we did any type of demo. We started to check for radon. This started to be, holy cow, like this house is fine. It's got 70 becquerels, and across the street is 350 over the 200 mark. Okay, what do we do about this? This became part of television for me and my family to educate people, because as much as I was educating everyone else, I was being educated myself. What can we do? Okay, this is not so hard to remediate this, to either put in an interior weeping system that both benefits an interior weeping as well as an air pullout and exhaust that radon on the outside of the house. Then we started going into what else we could do with this, and then how we could make it easy for everyone to test. And for years since then, I have talked about this really needs to be put on as a mandatory for when you buy a home. And you know what? I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I think it's because the government doesn't know what to do with it. They don't want to dip their toes into a pool that can harm them, if you understand what I'm saying. If they make an you must do this, then that puts them in a possible jeopardy of being sued. So this is, it's not really happening the way I'd like to see it, although we continue to step forward into the right directions of checking for radon. My son and daughter started to do videos and talks and on stage about a healthy home, and especially radon. And I'm very proud of them for how they represent themselves and how they can educate everyone else out there about radon. Being the #1 leading cause of lung cancer besides smoking cigarettes means we all should pay attention to this, and that it's really something around the planet that is the same everywhere. It doesn't mean that just because my house, which was great, my house was under those levels, but the house across the street wasn't. And I was filming that house. We were doing a second-story addition. It was my house. I bought it. When I found that I think we were in the 270 becquerel range, which was above limitations, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to have to remediate. So we added that wonderful piece that went on the furnace, clean air system within. And then I was told, which was a total surprise to me at the time, I believe this was 5 years ago, since it's in the ground and you're on well water, we need to check the well water. And I went, pardon? I didn't know that, but logically right away, it made sense to me that if it's coming out of the ground, it can come out of into the well water. Simple fix. You just exhaust the well water out. So as the water is being pumped into the house, it's not pumping that radon into the house. As far as I'm concerned, this has been a massive push for the education on the market for what we're doing in the television show, because so many times people would watch the show and write into our world and say, I did not know that. Thank you for telling me that. I didn't know how important it was. And this is something unlike anything we can do with cleaning the air for asbestos and or mold and anything else that may be contaminants in your home, pet dander, etc. You can't pull that out with using a simple air cleaner. It must be exhausted out. I think more and more that we talk about it and let people know about the possible long-term dangers that it can give to people is the better that we can do together. And I think that's what we're doing right now, is creating a team of people that are bit by bit, day by day, getting better and better about telling the public and being aware of what this problem is. Again, I don't think the government knows what to do about it. I do know that when they're doing developments now, they're forced to check in that area, which is wonderful. How far that goes is another story, and it's going to be based on territory, state, province, you name it, when it comes to the United States and Canada. But at least we're moving and stepping in the right direction of making the awareness the important thing that families need to know. Who would have thought that you even got to think of your dogs? Okay, as an adult, I don't really worry so much about myself. And I think that's the average for everyone else out there. When I got kids, that's a different story. I want to make sure my kids are going to be healthy and safe. And then I'm going to start paying attention. You got animals, you need to start paying attention. The problem that we face right now, especially because of the pandemic, is that everyone's inside their home. I love this partnership that we've created, because with this, we've come better that people can now test their own home and put in all the little air testers and send them in for samples and at least give them peace of mind. And really, it's not expensive. It's something that is inexpensive and the smartest thing for everyone to do out there. The more we push, the more people are going to pay attention and make sense. So this has been a great start. Who would have thought it would be from Dr. Oz show for me personally, and moving in the direction of what we're doing. We test every single house now on TV for radon. We talk about it on every single show if we need to discuss it, or just to the point whether or not it made the screen that we had tested the home and it's clean for radon gases, which we're very proud and happy when we find that. And if we find a house that has or contains over 200 becquerels, we talk about how we're going to solve that problem and educate everyone out there. To me, the more that we can do for the public about health and safety is number one over everything. I don't care. Never mind the cabinets and the countertops in your kitchen. I'm trying to tell people about having a healthy home first, and then you can focus on all the wonderful things that pop up in your home. I've always said work from the outside in when it comes to your home. And the importance of also working from the ground up is not just the foundation, but it's about radon detection or radon awareness. I'm going to keep doing this. We're doing podcasts now. As a matter of fact, one of the podcasts we did covered radon, which I was very proud of. I just heard numbers of the podcast, and it's funny when I hear these things. Oh, we got like 10,000 downloads per podcast. And at 10,000, I'm thinking that's not enough people. And I'm told that's actually a very big amount. Okay, let's hope that it gets to 100,000. Let's hope that it gets to 1 million. What I love more than anything is it's easy to get to these things. They can do it on YouTube. They can do it on Apple. They can do it on Google. I mean, our social media, your social media. So the more that we keep doing this, I think the better that it's going to be. And maybe one day it will become a law to make sure that a house is tested before you can buy it. It makes sense to me, and I hope it makes sense to you. I love doing this because this, to me, is just about relationships, education, and doing things right the first time. I think right now we're going to get into a bunch of questions and answers. And if you can raise your hand, unfortunately, I can't see you. It's too bad because I missed those days where I'd stand on stage and talk to you direct. However, you do have the opportunity to talk to me now. And if you'd like to, I'd like to hear something.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Mike. It's great to hear all the journey that you've gone on with coming to radon awareness. And I have a question for you. One of the first questions was, you talked about at the beginning of how you started to learn about radon. So who was it that kind of got you engaged and talked to you about it?
Well, mainly Dr. Oz. The person that was on stage, I cannot remember his name, and I'm kind of ashamed for that, because I should. That was someone that I should have remembered. But at the time, again, I didn't know enough about it, and I didn't see the importance with it, because of the importance of everything else I was talking about, was understanding how we can clean the air in your home instead of breathing it in and using your lungs to clean the air. That's when I started to find out about the radon, and I really do wish I remembered his name, but something tells me that we could find it in YouTube, or at least go on the Dr. Oz shows and pick it up there, because I'd like to thank the guy.
Yeah. The other, I mean, I'm curious about the journey. When you started talking about radon, it was relatively unknown, and now it has grown, and so I'm interested in just some of the questions and the journey that you've seen in interacting with homeowners from the beginning when you first started till now.
Well, that was funny, because I don't even think Dr. Oz actually knew enough about it, because he didn't make a big deal of it when I stepped in on the show, and he didn't correct me, or, you know, that was the one thing about it, that I just brushed it off. And I guess in a way he did too. But since this journey has begun and everything we've been doing, we've had massive communication on our social media, and everything we're doing. People are now paying attention, and they want to know about this, because they keep hearing that number one leading cause of lung cancer besides smoking cigarettes. And that, to me, is a massive concern that people need to pay attention. The good news from this is that communication that's coming in, is that relationship with the real estate agents that we talk to, our inspectors talking to homeowners. And the more we push this out there, we just tell them it's really simple. Do a simple test. Mike Holmes Inspections, we started doing that. Just no matter what, every home must be inspected. So when we inspect a home, we do the radon test. We don't just tell them we suggest it, we actually do it for them. I think the more we push this one and work with the real estate agents, again, the more awareness that goes out there, and we're going to win this battle, hopefully sometime real soon.
Yeah, one of the other questions that I had was, you not only know about it and talk about it, but you also do it. And so you were mentioning that there is a number of ways that you also test for radon, or that you bring it into your work.
I think the best that we can do is tell everyone you can get a 24-hour test done. I believe it's a 24-hour if you want to know right away, 3-day test, or a 7-day test, 28-day test. So obviously the longevity is the best one, because it's going to be the most accurate. But for peace of mind, having that short-term test, I think, is really important, because it leads to the next level. We really want that data, or data, when it depends, potato, and that's just the way I say it. But working with the inspection industry is really becoming, I think, the tool that gets to the homeowners, the television show that gets to the homeowners, the social media that gets to the homeowners through podcasts, my website, etc. And I'm seeing a massive interest and understanding now of radon than when I first bumped into it by accident.
Yeah, and we're getting some really great questions. One question is, when building your homes, what do you do to prevent radon from entering?
As soon as I learned about radon, I started to implement interior weeping system with the radon exhaust, because this was a double win for me. One, it controlled that water on the inside if there was ever a flood. Two, I could exhaust possible radon gases, or any gases from the earth outside of the house. And this became my minimum code when I build houses, that it's logical to do. It's not very expensive. And since we're building it, why don't we implement it? And then When we're selling that house, we educate the homeowners on what we did, why we did it, and how it benefits them.
Nice. Another question is, sometimes homeowners find testing is a little complicated. What's your experience when you talk to homeowners about testing?
I think anytime homeowners don't understand or don't know about something, everything is complicated. It's so simple, it's ridiculous. And that's the wonderful part about working with the radon company or radon industry and the people that care about it, is that they've put their foot forward. They put the money where their mouths are and made it simple for everyone and anyone to test their own home, or simply call up a qualified inspection company to have them come in and install the detectors and get that peace of mind and that information that I think everyone needs.
And another question, many other groups, some municipalities and other stakeholders across the country are starting to talk about radon. Do you have any thoughts of how, or plan of how we should encourage the radon to get more, lobby more in government and get it more, move it forward for Canadians?
I do. If you were to just pass it on to the government, I don't think that it's going to become anything unless something dangerous happens, that someone dies from it. It becomes news in the media. And unfortunately, that's what happens when it comes to news. We don't change things or fix things until something tragically happens. And that's usually what codes change, is when something tragically happens. The more we talk about it and the more we get direct to the homeowners, to every person out there through just what we're doing and through social media and television, the more that's going to dictate the change within buying houses, because we know when it comes to government buildings, they're going to check it, whether or not they tell anyone or not. They're going to check their buildings because now the government employees are being infected. So this is when they'll do something. Again, the more we push, the more we talk, the more changes are going to come in place. And I believe that one day, and one day soon, that it will become mandatory to check everything, everywhere, all the time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the other issue is, and there's been a few questions on this, so I'll sort of summarize it, that as we tighten up our homes, we know that the radon levels are increasing. So you talked about different things that we can do at the time of construction, and awareness that we need to just keep reminding people to test. But is there any other things that we should be looking at with the building code?
Well, old houses leak air, and that's probably why anyone living in a century home or 100 years old plus, there never really was a big problem. There was more problem with lead and asbestos in the home than there was radon, and that's only because stack effect, in theory, is how we exhaust radon. In other words, we have leakage up, pulls the air out of the house. And a lot of the times they didn't even have air conditioning, so they left the windows open, which is some of the most important things we can do, is to move air in your home. As in science got smarter and smarter, officially, or let's call it smarter, and actually we got stupid in the long run, we tried to make an airtight home for efficiency reasons only, using less flame, less off-gassing from the furnace, etc. in the house. All this made sense, except for what we didn't realize is that we now trapped all the dirty inside the home, including radon gases. This caused a massive spike in asthma, bronchitis, especially in the last 40 years, allergies. And people didn't realize this. They were just thinking, I've got a cold, I've got a cold, I've got a cold. But now you have an airtight home and you bring the pandemic into this world, everyone's practically staying home more than they've ever stayed home. And this is becoming more and more of a concern as far as I'm concerned. So the awareness, we need to keep pushing this. And I think we need to do it within not using scare tactics, but using simplicity and intelligence and saying, it's not expensive to actually remediate if you do have a problem. But what you do want to know is, do you have that problem and what you can do to fix it?
Yeah, and I've appreciated that working with you, that it's been keeping the message positive and focusing on healthy homes. And so great job on that too. A couple questions about the audience. Have you noticed, are you getting different reactions from younger homeowners or from more mature homeowners?
You know, it's funny in the new world with the young, I think they care more about a smart home where they can, push their phone and get a coffee started before they get out of bed. And, we can take this so far, it's ridiculous to talk about a smart home. But to me, a smart home is a home that is a healthy home. I am noticing the young paying attention to these things more than the older. And I think it's simply because I don't know if it's about you can't teach an old dog new tricks or, that sort of theory. But mom and pa have lived there for so many years. They don't feel sick. Everything seems to be normal. So it's less of an attraction or a reason for them to check. But some of them now, and more of them are stepping forward saying, hey, you know what? I saw this on Mike's show. How can I get it? How can I get it checked in my house for radon gases? The young, I'm seeing a huge spike, and I think that's wonderful because it is a long-term effect. It's the young we really want to target, but I don't ever want to forget anyone.
Nice. And how about realtors? What do you think it'll take to get more real estate agents talking about this?
This is something that I think is one of the biggest things that the radon awareness needs to go in a direction of, and maybe talk to the Century 21s and talk to all of them, because as long as real estate agents are telling people we should get this checked, or by the way, here's an information paper after you buy the house, you should get it checked for radon. This is a great direction for the awareness of radon if we can do that. And I'm trying, and together I think we'll do more. But my beliefs is if you get direct to the big people, like I said, Century 21, all the big names, and just say it's something we believe that you could help us with and you could help yourselves with. Because I always look at it this way. A professional company wants to give you the right information, not hide anything. When it comes to a home that has been used for growing marijuana, I mean, years ago, nobody wanted to buy that house. That was the house I would buy. I'd fix it, remediate it, and sell it because no one wanted to pay. It was really low to buy that home. However, this became part of the real estate industry that if it was a grow up, it must be declared. And things in legal reasons that needed to be declared, unfortunately, it wasn't radon or isn't radon, but I believe the awareness now is growing such that working with all of the real estate boards is going to make the biggest difference.
Nice. And how about tenants? What can we do to help ensure that we protect tenants?
Now, there's something that needs to be targeted, and it's usually because most homeowners, and I'm sorry, most homeowners don't care. They don't want to fix their home. They don't want to tell anyone that the house contains asbestos, the house has radon. They don't want that. They just wanted, it's like out of sight, out of mind, which is a statement I'm not too fond of. If you don't know, it's not going to hurt you. Well, that's not true in this case. You can't see it. If you don't know about it, it can hurt you. So getting to the tenants is really through social media, is through television, is through all the social media we do, the awareness. Once they watch it, at least they know they can buy it. I think it's 25 bucks or 30 bucks. It's not a lot of money, but they can purchase it themselves. So don't rely on the owner of the house, rely on the tenants directly.
Nice. Well, that's great. We're at the end of our time. It feels like it's flown by. And there's been a lot in the chat just thanking you for all your efforts and just recognizing that there is such you've had a great effect on growing awareness across the country.
Well, as long as we keep doing it together and we don't stop and we keep coming up with smarter ideas, I think this is going to be one hell of a great future when it comes to radon. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much.